Trouble in the desert, Arizona State under investigation from the NCAA and internally from its compliance department, as news leaked Wednesday that a current staffer or former staffer, someone within the program, decided to turn their own program in because they've been allegedly using illegal recruiting tactics during this COVID-19 pandemic, when all universities across college sports have not been allowed to do any in-person recruiting. Well, allegedly, not only was Arizona State breaking that rule, it was making its own rules. They were bringing recruits on campus, and in doing so, brought in over more than 30, and maybe even more than that since October, according to Yahoo Sports. This news first broken, by the way, by The Athletic and further developed by Pete Thamel at Yahoo Sports with some very specific details. And in this report, what I found interesting is that current and former staffers at Arizona State on Herm Edwards' staff came forward and spoke to the Yahoo Sports anonymously, but still came forward and spoke. There seems to be quite a bit of strife and not a lot of agreement about these recruiting practices that Arizona State utilized that not only went against the grain, it blatantly and arrogantly and brazenly broke the rule that everybody in college football and college sports decided was fair. No in-person recruiting during this pandemic. So for 15 months, college athletics was pretty much shut down from a recruiting perspective. Kids couldn't come on campus, even if they were driving by. They couldn't come by and visit campuses. They couldn't talk to coaches in person. No one could do that. But Arizona State allegedly was doing that. Some of the details in this report are amazing. Hiding players, these recruits, in suites at the stadium and having them go down a staircase so they could bump in to the coaching staff. And Herm Edwards, the former NFL coach, pointed at the very top of all this, knowing about it. And of course, Herm Edwards has remained quiet on this as the reports come out, and the Arizona staff has remained quiet. But the details of this all really track back to Antonio Pierce, the recruiting coordinator at Arizona State, and really, I think, the de facto head coach at Arizona State. Remember, Herm Edwards, an older gentleman, had kind of taken over Arizona State, didn't have a lot of college experience, but he took over that job and said, hey, I'm going to utilize the NFL approach. We're going to have a general manager, and I'm going to be more like a CEO. I'm going to sit here and handle things internally. But Antonio Pierce is pretty much my right-hand guy now, especially over this last year or two. He is going to handle recruiting. He's going to handle staff meetings and all that. And boy, oh boy, did that seem like it'd be a mistake. And not just allowing Antonio Pierce to handle all that, but Herm Edwards deciding to run this thing like an NFL organization, and in doing so, completely overlooking rules and angering not only his rivals in doing so with these allegations, but angering people on his own staff, current and former staff members. Quite incredible. What's going to happen at Arizona State? I don't see a situation or an avenue here where Herm Edwards and that entire staff survives employment going into this upcoming season, which is a shame for Arizona State fans, because this Arizona State team is built to win that division in the Pac-12. They are built to potentially beat USC and go to the Pac-12 championship this year, especially with Jaden Daniels at quarterback. Now they've got this all hanging over them. And of course, the fallout. What players might transfer out of the program? They don't have long to kind of figure that out before preseason camps start everywhere across the country. If they don't want to stick around there where, heck, bowl bans might be coming, who knows? No one knows. But that's going to be talked about, and it's going to be in their ear all the time on campus. They're going to want to go somewhere, especially with the NCAA passing immediate eligibility for a transfer, to go elsewhere and play immediately and potentially go compete for a championship somewhere else where they're not facing down the barrel of these big-time allegations. But these allegations are so pointed and so specific, I don't see how they can be completely ignored or even covered up or explained away. There's just no way of doing it. When you're talking about 30 plus recruits, that's 30 different people and their parents and their handlers, their uncles, their family members who were involved and knew about this. And the NCAA is going to come calling. They're going to talk to these people. And of course, at least one or two of those people they're going to talk. They're going to blab. And why would they? Because the NCAA has the power to go, you know what? If you don't talk to us about this and be truthful, we know what the truth is. If you're not truthful with us, we're going to punish you. We're going to take some of your eligibility away at whatever school you go to, Arizona State or not. So they've got that threat hanging over their heads. One quick other thing about this, as I said, I just don't see how the Arizona State staff survives this. I don't see how they're on campus as the coaching staff going into the 2021 season, which is a shame because ASU is a program on the rise. And I had really bought stock in going into last season as a championship contender in the Pac-12. But to me, what we're going to see are more details be released slowly through the media, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just a little bit of information about what is in that 30 plus page, 36 page report that someone put together and handed over to Arizona State, which then turned it over to the NCAA. It's going to be very difficult to say that video is not real, or those pictures are not real. These text messages aren't real. These screenshots aren't real, especially when it spreads out as much as it is right now with as many people involved. It's much more difficult for the NCAA to kind of say without a shadow of doubt, this happened and this was wrong with one recruit. But when it's 30 plus and you're breaking rules in the middle of a pandemic, that heightens things even further. The coaches are out for blood when they hear about stuff like this, about illegal recruiting practices during this pandemic, because everybody was locked at home. They couldn't recruit, and they are very upset. You saw David Shaw, the Stanford head coach, quoted in the Yahoo Sports Report, obviously angry and upset about this. This is just the tip of the iceberg of things you're going to be hearing. There are other programs in the NCAA that are being looked into for maybe some illegal recruiting activity during the pandemic, but this by far is the most brazen, the most arrogant. Arizona State, allegedly, of course, allegedly, if all this comes true and is proven true, I should say, absolute brazen and arrogance. Brazen. It's something that we haven't quite seen on this level in a heightened circumstances, such as in a pandemic, when everybody is having to stay home, and they're not only treating it like it's just a normal fall or spring, but they're just saying, let's take advantage of this. Let's do what everybody else is not doing, just completely break the rules because they don't apply to us. And it goes back to when Herm Edwards was hired there, was criticized. Like, this guy doesn't have any good college experience. How's he going to be able to lead this program? He's in the twilight of his career. And I think that's also another problem with Herm Edwards and overseeing all this under these allegations. He has really nothing to lose. He can go retire today and he doesn't care. He's fine financially. He's fine in his life. He's retirement age. He's ready to go right off in the sunset anyway. So why not try to make one big more splash? Why not have Antonio Pierce, a guy who has no college coaching experience, come over and pretty much be your de facto head coach and have him run an entire staff and recruiting department? That's a recipe for trouble. And now Arizona State is facing that. And I feel bad for the fans there, but something's going to have to change and turn. And the big thing is that these details are leaking to the media. And as we've seen with the NCAA, they are so slow to react to things. But the NCAA, in the end, it'll matter in this because they'll be the one to decide whether there's going to be sanctions or whatever. But as more details are released through the media and providing some transparency to issues like this and wrongdoing, that speeds up compliance departments and most notably the presidents and athletic directors of those universities under scrutiny to make changes. And I think that's what's going to happen here. The media is playing a role in this because they are reporting and providing all these details shed to light that not normally would be that would not normally come out until the end of the investigation. But that tells you that there's a splintered staff at Arizona State already. There's people angry, and certainly more details are coming, and it's not going to look good for Arizona State.